being stuck in the system forever keep you broke. Even if you are a doctor and you are on a above average salary compared to the UK average, your money is never going to work for you if all you do is your job.
Dr. Minho Lee is a GP, a surgeon, and a certified property investor and leader with the Samuel Leeds Academy, inspiring the next generation while building a legacy through medicine, property, and entrepreneurship.
What is it about your mindset that do you think that makes you different?
First thing you need to learn is just financial education. If you don't know how to manage your money and your own personal finances, there's no point in you investing in property.
Most people think that being a doctor is a very well paid, very well respected job. Has that changed?
Doctors' pay has not gone up for doctors in training effectively since 2008. So a brand new doctor who's just qualified and getting the first intern job, they earn something like 16 to 17 pounds an hour.
Yeah. £16 an hour. Did you see any negativity about Samuel Lee?
Loads.
So that's the surprising thing when you say your job doesn't allow you to do that, because most people think that being a doctor is a very well paid, very well respected job. And I think that may well have been the case. And most doctors would have been 100% focused on their job. That would have been enough for them. But has that changed, or was that never the case?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we were to go back maybe 20, 30 years or something, I know a lot of my senior colleagues have become very reasonably well off, going through the institution called the NHS, going through the training and building up their career. And a lot of consultants are now, especially the older ones, are probably reasonably well off. But that is what used to be maybe 30, 40 years ago. Now things have changed quite a lot. Doctors' pay has not gone up for doctors in training effectively since 2008, really, when the government brought in a lot of changes to essentially reduce spending in the NHS. And our pay has never matched inflation. And therefore, we are actually earning less, way less than what we actually used to 20 years ago. And with the rising cost of living...
How much is that?
So, I mean, right now, a brand new, what we call a foundation year one doctor. So a brand new doctor who's just qualified and getting the first intern job in a hospital, if you will, they earn something like 16 to 17 pounds an hour, which is not great, if you consider the fact how many hours they actually work.
And that's after how many years of training?
At least 6.
At least 6. After that, they get £16 an hour.
Yeah, 16, 17, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, I used to work at Amazon, and people say that Amazon workers are exploited and earn a little money. And okay, tier 1 would be less than that, but I think that's about £16 an hour is about equal to tier 2 as a team leader, and you could get to that.
Yeah,
you could get to that within a few months of joining if you're a good person.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do 6 years of training, building up a massive student loan.
So, exactly, yeah. And unlike most other degrees in the UK, which are 3, maybe 4 years, because I was at least 6, it delays our pay as well. Yeah. So it all adds up. Time is your biggest enemy when it comes to building financial wealth. The longer you leave your money not working for you, the longer it takes for you to actually build wealth.
Well, not only not working for you, but continue.
But actually having a salary too.
Well, continuing to go negative into.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you delay the compound interest, which the earlier you start, the faster it'll snowball. So the fact that your degree is 6 years and your first salary is going to be much later than most of your other peers in non-medical professions, that already puts doctors from the very beginning at a disadvantage.
Yeah. So then what would be the goal? Why would someone do that? Because surely there is some sort of hope and light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe would it be consultants after a few years or something? And do they get higher pay?
Yeah. I mean, I think there are a multitude of different factors. Purely financially speaking, if you're smart with your money and you don't if you are able to get through the training system, which after qualification, after 6 years, is still very, very long, depending on the specialty you choose. For example,
the career path.
Yeah, so for example, so all doctors in the UK, after they qualify for med school, which is 6 years, you have to spend mandatory 2 years as effectively an intern. So we call that foundation year 1 and foundation year 2. 16, and then in foundation year 2, in your second year's intern, it does go up to 20 and gradually goes up. I think it caps out around 30 to 33 an hour. But that training length, 2 years of internship, plus if you were, in my case, formerly in my orthopedic surgery, that's another 6 years on top of that.
On top of the 2 years. Eight years.
So we're looking at
6 years of training.
Exactly.
So we're looking at 14 years.
Yeah. Minimum, because not everybody manages to get on the right training program straight away.
Right. Some people change their minds.
So some people change their minds, etc. For me, it's, I've lost 2 or 3 years here and there because, for instance, I didn't make it the first right round, or I changed my mind, that sort of thing. So it's
so you could. I mean, if a normal career is 30 years between of work, we're talking about half of that
just in training.
In training.
Yeah.
We'll get back to the interview in a moment. First, do you ever feel like the system is designed to keep you broke while the rich get richer? Well, we're here to help you flip the script. Our podcast and newsletter breaks down the 4 phases of wealth. Ditch bad debts, make your money work for you, take smart risks, and systemize for true freedom. If you want tips and exclusive content to build your wealth, click the link in the description to join our newsletter and take your first step to becoming self-unemployed.
At least, if you're lucky. Obviously, it depends on the specialty. Some are slightly shorter, but on average, most hospital specialties are another 6 years. That's after the 2 years of mandatory intern, after the 6 years of med school. Yeah.
I mean, and this is not normal in other parts of the. This is because of the NHS trying to. Well, I don't want to make them sound like they're greedy, because they're not. They don't have the money. It's just the NHS can't afford to. The system can't afford to pay.
No, absolutely.
Worth,
really. I mean, NHS as a system and as a organization, and what it tries to do, which is provide effectively free healthcare for everyone, regardless of who you are, what your background is. I think it's a wonderful concept, and it should be kept that way, so that everybody, regardless what you have, whether it's just a small cough or you have a massive injury, cancer that could be life-changing, or car crash. I used to be in major trauma surgery. You can really change lives without you having to worry about, can I pay for this? Unlike in the US, where you can have a 6-figure bill after breaking an ankle or something crazy like that. So I love the NHS as a concept and what it tries to do for the population and the general well-being of everyone. It's just that because it's a publicly funded organization, and the government so far, in my opinion, hasn't handled it very well, the people working in the NHS, such as myself, trying to make a difference to our patients' lives, trying to make them better, it's just not working out. Our pay has not effectively gone up since 2008. So we are struggling financially. It's expending a lot of our goodwill to go beyond our call of duty to help our patients. But that patients, I think, is starting to run thin. Not just among doctors, nurses have it even worse off. And occupational therapists, physiotherapists, and all other parts of the MDT or the multidisciplinary team, we're all suffering.
It's so. Do you have any ideas of what the solution may be, or what are the problems? Where is money being wasted, or is there just not enough?
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of both. And if you look at the NHS budget, it's I don't know, it's very high, hundreds of millions, I think. I think it's actually over $1 billion. I'll have to double check. Don't quote me on this because I'm not actually at the health secretary. But there is a huge pot of money, and a small part of that goes to primary care to fund the various GP practices in the country, which I think is just not enough, because primary care is the gatekeeper for community health before they prevent most people going to the hospital. But a lot of practices are vastly underfunded and vastly oversubscribed. And the hospitals, they obviously get most of the money, but I think they're just not managed very well. Like, in fact, the current Prime Minister Keir Starmer, they are in the process of abolishing. I think they're abolishing health education in England, and they're abolishing they're abolishing like different stages and big parts of the NHS, because what they actually found out was they did some analysis, and a lot of different sort of levels, different admin staff, etc., of the NHS were basically copying, like not really copying, they were replicating each other's work.
Right,
so
yeah,
they're basically doing the same job twice, essentially.
Yeah.
And a lot of money was being wasted on all these, what you might describe as like superfluous stuff. Like, what if one person does A, another person does the same thing, but just in a slightly different way. So they are.
So what kind of things do you mean?
So, for example, like patient pathway coordination, like where if you were to come to hospital, like there's a certain pathway to follow. Like, you were to go through ED, you then, or if you came as an outpatient, this is the sort of procedure you would follow. So, for example, if you were referred by the GP for heart failure to a heart failure cardiologist specialist, you go through a certain process. And for example, then the receiving clinic in the local area, their secretaries would sort of what we call triage, where look at all the referrals and accept and reject referrals depending on how appropriate it is, and then actually refer it on to the correct cardiologist. So because the cardiologist is busy seeing patients, they don't have time to actually look at all the referrals and decide which ones they're going to take and which are going to reject. So there are people in the middle that do that for you, a highly trained sort of clinical and like admin staff, but that sometimes gets done 3 times.
Right.
In that sort of really complicated
By different.
Exactly, by different people. And you're effectively, what the NHS is doing, it's paying 3 people, so 3 times, to do the same job 3 times. So it causes extremely long waiting times. For example, at my hospital, I won't mention the name, my former hospital, like if a GP were to refer, let's say yourself, for an ultrasound of the abdomen, the waiting time right now is 18 weeks. You'll be waiting 4.5 months for, let's say, me as a current GP trainee were to refer you to the local hospital for like a scan of your tummy because you had some abdominal pain or something, and I'm not really sure what's going on.
And it's not just the wait. In that situation, that
could get worse.
Could get worse.
Yeah.
Could even die. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And unfortunately, what often happens is because of the system restricting what we can do, because it can take so long, your situation may get worse and you will end up in ED, when the whole purpose of me trying to get an abdominal scan for you soon was to try and prevent that from happening.
Was it ED,
emergency department, A&E, sorry.
Yeah. So, but they've known this for a long time, right? That there's inefficiency in the system. Why has nothing been done about it?
Well, I'm not a politician, but I don't want to make any political statements that are that's misinformed by myself. But I think it's just NHS so far has not been a big priority for the government. Funding has been effectively frozen for many years. I think so. Yeah. I mean, the current Labour Party in power so far seem a lot friendlier towards doctors and the NHS as a whole, from what I have seen. Because the British Medical Association, the BMA, which is a supporting union for doctors, they have been much better talks with the current government than the previous ones in power. But I mean, only time will tell whether they actually will.
Talk to talk.
Exactly. It's just talk. Will actually get anything done? I don't know.
I know that a company called Palantir, which does like AI, they help organizations implement AI into the system. So they're working with the NHS.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that?
I don't know specifically about Palantir, much about it. But AI in healthcare is, there are 2 different camps. A lot of people are very optimistic about it and be like, oh yeah, it can help us do our job a lot faster, a lot more efficiently. But then on the flip side, some doctors and everybody else within the hospital as well, they are a little bit worried that, oh, will AI then take over my job?
Well, that's the idea.
Yeah.
Then it's cheaper. Then that's
yeah,
what you say.
I suppose. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
You say you've got 3 people doing one job. Well, if AI can help get rid of 2 of them,
maybe that might be the solution.
To have that attitude is to want the NHS to waste money, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
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 Because it seems to me like the NHS is in a position to not only use AI to save money, but it could make money, because the NHS is uniquely positioned because it's got so much data, because it's been such a big organisation for many years. There's nothing like it in the world. So it's sitting on loads of data that can be used to train AI.
I agree.
And then it could then effectively own those tools that then get used all over the world to reduce, to make it easier to, do tests and look at X-rays and scans and stuff. And identify problems. But there's just so much red tape, and people will talk about people's right to privacy of their records. It's like, I mean, I've had X-rays. I don't mind who sees my X-rays. It's not like.
Well, you do want someone qualified to look at it, right?
I know, but I don't. Yeah, if they're going to give me a medical diagnosis, yes. Yeah. But I don't care if some other people just see it.
Oh, you mean as in like if it being available as data?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's anonymized, and it's not like
that's the idea, right?
So I think that, I don't know. It just seems like there's a massive opportunity for the NHS.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the financial perspective, it makes a lot of sense. Even before we even get to things like X-rays, simple things like triaging referrals. So if a GP sends 1,000 referrals to the heart specialist in the local hospital, AI could look at them and start sorting, oh, this actually makes sense, this doesn't make sense. So AI could do that and replace the 3 different people currently in the pipeline that actually does that 3 times over. And maybe what you could do is have AI do the initial triaging, and then have, instead of 3 people, have just 1 person double check the work. And that way you could save money.
And the more they do that, the better the AI gets.
Exactly.
That's feeding into the neural net that better train.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, completely agree.
But
I suppose
that's the opportunity. But is the NHS, is the British government the kind of organisation that's going to embrace that?
I'm not really sure. A lot of research is ongoing. For example, a prime example that's like a lot in the news at the moment, at least within the doctor circle, is AI in radiology. So going back to your X-ray, a human can look at your, I don't know, like let's say X-ray of your arm or something, and maybe it takes them 2 minutes to make a diagnosis. A well-trained AI could make the diagnosis possibly in 5 seconds. Or less. And then if a human takes 20 minutes to then look at 10 X-rays and write the report on it, an AI could look at 10 and do it all within less than like a minute or something.
And well, it wouldn't even be. It would be all sort of centralized on one massive server in a data center, and hundreds of thousands of X-rays would be coming in.
Yeah.
And going out.
Yeah. Now the opponents to AI in medicine right now is rightfully so, the danger that AI might miss things. Because AI, if you've used, you must have used ChatGPT before. Like I used it for, writing. It's not perfect. Sometimes it saves a lot of time, but sometimes and often it does make mistakes. And then when I actually write to ChatGPT, you're wrong. Then you know what it says? It says, yes, you're absolutely right. I was wrong. But it makes it sound very, very convincing that it's actually right. But then you need to sense check it.
Yeah.
And then if you apply that to,
so a human needs to still be responsible for it.
Exactly. Even if you train an AI really, really well, if it misses that one spot on an X-ray, which could be cancerous, and that now gets missed, that person's life is now, potentially completely turned aside. Well. Exactly, it happens with humans as well. So, but then the question is, who is responsible for that then? Was it the radiologist, the human, who made the mistake, in which case, well, that's their responsibility. But if it's an AI that's made the mistake, who is actually liable? So that's
this is why instead of just getting an X-ray to look at, you would get an X-ray with an AI's opinion.
Yeah.
And the doctor has to check it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's on there.
Yeah, yeah.
And that would save.
So I guess, AI could just save time, save the radiologist a lot of time from actually going through it in minute detail. And if the AI said, oh, it's normal, well, the radiologist checks it, double checks it. If the AI said, oh, this is suspicious, then the human radiologist can check it as well. But I don't know whether the technology at the moment is advanced enough to actually be set at the right sensitivity level. So what I mean with that is if you set an AI to be too sensitive, what it'll do is it'll just look at lots of normal things, normal variations, and tell you it's potentially abnormal. So that'll actually then create more work for the radiologist to do, because now the humans have to look at the 10 different abnormalities the AI has picked up as a potential abnormality, but then actually it's just normal variation. But then if you set the sensitivity too low, it might just say normal to everything, when in fact that one thing should have been looked at in more detail. So how do you balance that? I don't know.
The nature of AI, it is able to learn and get better over time, especially the more you correct it. But anyway, let's not get into...
This is becoming an AI podcast.
So, I mean, this is a podcast about building wealth. So, you are a doctor. Yeah. That is a job that is, people think it's well paid, well respected. But you are, and you've talked about how the pay is being repressed and not kept up with inflation and things. So, what are doctors doing? You are looking outside for side gigs. We'll talk more about that later, but what are other doctors doing?
So most doctors, including myself until very recently, we just do extra shifts. So we call it locum shifts, where because a lot of hospitals have lots of gaps in their rota. So in my previous department, for instance, we always had like 2 or 3 people short every week for various shifts, whether the day shift, night shift, weekend shifts. Especially out of hours shifts, we would just never have enough people available to cover them. So if I am off that day and I'm available and I'm legally allowed to work in terms of like a numbers hour a week, I might pick up that extra shift and make some extra money. And if you do that, let's say once a week, that can then actually add up and become a few hundred extra pounds. But it is an exchange for a lot of extra hard work. But that is probably the easiest way for doctors to make some extra money with doing.
Do you get the same pay, the 16 an hour?
No. So when you do locum shifts, generally the pay is higher because it's a separate locum shift. And that's another sort of can of worms that the government and the doctors have been arguing over. But locum shifts in London, they are capped at something like £33 an hour for sort of resident doctors in the early years of training. So the first couple of years, they get paid about 33 an hour. Which is obviously a lot more than £17 an hour. But that is in exchange for, doing a lot of extra work. And if that doesn't get filled, then whoever's working normally on that day have to do multiple people's work. So it's a bit of it's a difficult balancing act, I think. And hospitals use, because a lot of hospitals rely on hiring these locum doctors to fill their shifts, they are now paying thousands and thousands of pounds more for hiring locum doctors to plug the gaps. And that then makes them less able to pay the regular doctors a higher salary.
So there is a shortage of doctors?
Always. In pretty much every hospital, in almost every department. There's not enough doctors.
Yeah, so you've then, let's move on to what you'll do. So you're now getting into investing in property, in rent-to-rents.
Yeah.
How did you come to that? Let's go back to when you first came up with that idea. How did that come about?
It was about when I first started thinking about, I need to do something other than locums. Because at one point, in order to make some extra money, I was doing like 2 or 3 extra locum shifts a week, like literally just pushing the boundaries of what's legal. What I'm legally allowed to work per week. I think something like that. Yeah, I'll have to double check the figures. But because obviously, if you're too tired, you can make mistakes. Like the government puts the hospitals.
Same rules for doctors and nurses?
Yes. So I think I'm not allowed to do more than 4 12-hour night shifts in a row or something within the same working week. But if I only did 3, I might do 1 more night shift and then do it again the week afterwards, which is a lot of extra work and very, very difficult. But I thought, there has to be a better way, because I was effectively at some point locuming so much, I just had no time for friends, family, myself. I was just, at work, eating and sleeping, just to make, ends meet. And I thought, there has to be a better way. And that's around 5 years ago was when I decided, I'm going to start exploring options. I looked at drop shipping. I looked at setting up my own faceless YouTube channel. I looked into, creating some kind of an e-commerce website. I was buying and selling things on eBay, luxury items, just so I can get better margin, all sorts of different things. But when I came across property was, I think just after or during the first COVID pandemic, when everything was just shut down, and I couldn't do the normal things. I couldn't do any extra locum work either.
Surely there would have been more need.
So there was more need, but the problem was a lot of people were also isolating, and hospitals were trying to, at least in my hospital, they're trying to limit people going in and out, including doctors. So it was the amount of locums that's available very, very limited, in an ironic way. Although the demand was much higher back then. But coming back to how I got into property, I started watching things and just reading about what does the property market look like in the UK. All I knew back then was just regular buy-to-let type of strategies. Okay, how much can I afford to buy anything right now? And if I rent it out, what kind of rent could I get? And at that point during COVID, I was like, nobody's moving right now, so buy-to-let doesn't make sense right now during the pandemic because no one is able to move. But then that's when I discovered Samuel Leeds, for instance, and Progressive Properties, and a couple of other property training programs in the UK, talking about things like rent-to-rents, talking about things like buy, refurbish, refinance. And those are sort of the 2 major things I sort of took away from.
So you didn't know that?
That I didn't know about before. I was like, what on earth is rent-to-rent? So I looked into it, and I'm like, this is just subletting. This is illegal. This is just a scam. So it actually took a while for me to sort of warm up to the idea that this is something legitimate. And after the lockdown was over, I then started attending some of the Samuel Leeds courses, like live courses, to actually, go and see if this guy is legit, see if anybody else who has done his courses, what is their experience
Did you
like?
see any negativity about?
Loads. Yeah. So I was initially myself, and rightfully most people probably are very risk averse and very sort of on guard and hesitant about doing something new outside of your institutionalized environment, if you will. And rent-to-rent as a concept is very foreign probably for most of the general population.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it should work.
It
doesn't. You rent something and then make money by just renting it out.
Exactly.
Shouldn't be margin in.
Yeah,
but
and the very first question I asked when I learned about rent-to-rent is, okay, well, if I was the landlord, why don't I just rent it out on Airbnb myself? Why would I rent it to someone who then rents it out again? It just doesn't make any sense.
But the funny thing is, we're sitting here at one of Samuel Lee's training, and not at it, in a hotel over the road, a Premier Inn.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what Premier Inn do. Yeah. Premier Inn don't own the buildings that they're in. They rent them, and then they rent them out again. To guests.
You're absolutely right. Most hotels do not. Well, I don't know the actual data, but a lot of hotels don't actually own the building.
Yeah.
They are renting it out from some landlord or some corporate landlord, probably in this case. They rent them out. They pay them a fixed rent, whatever they negotiated on, and then Premier Inn charges room by room. And depending on the season, they might charge a higher nightly rate, lower nightly rate, and that's different. It's their profit. Yeah. And it's a rent-to-rent for an individual person like me or yourself is basically the same thing, but on a smaller scale. It's like having your own tiny hotel, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. So we have guests rather than tenants.
Exactly.
in service accommodations. So yeah, that's where. That's
and
where
a lot of people in the general population, they think this is illegal. This is subletting. Actually, it's not subletting. The contracts are completely different, and they don't realize.
Hang on, is that right though? Or it is subletting? It's just that in the contract that we have, which is different to what you would have if you were renting for your home, that would be an AST contract, assured
Exactly.
tenancy.
So,
we have a different kind of contract that doesn't prohibit.
You're right. So subletting.
I'm not sure.
I don't. Yeah, I need to. I don't. I'm not a lawyer.
But because ASTs are so common, that's the standard way everyone rents a house.
Exactly. Yeah.
And those prohibit subletting.
Yeah. Exactly.
People think, oh, subletting is illegal, but it's not. It's just prohibited in that type of contract.
Exactly.
So you just have a different type of contract.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. So like, it's a completely different contract for rent to rent. It's a corporate-led or company-led agreement, which is not illegal at all. It is completely legitimate, nothing illegal about it. And your company effectively becomes the tenant for this property's landlord. And the relationship is between the landlord and the company. You pay them guaranteed rent every month, and you rent the property out, manage it on a professional standard as long as you do it properly, and you can advertise it on travel agencies like Airbnb or Booking.com and charge a higher nightly rate than what would be on a monthly rate, and the difference is your profit.
Yeah, exactly.
It works really well, actually, as long as you do it properly and you have the right compliance and you have the right knowledge and training. Absolutely no reason why you can't do it.
Yeah. So when you say do it properly, what are some of the things that people might not do properly?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. It's not quite so simple as just getting the property and then rent it out. Like it sounds good on paper, but you need to do a lot of due diligence and research behind it. Not every property you're actually legally allowed to do it. For example, if it's a leasehold property where the landlord owns it as a leasehold, you need to double check the head lease agreement. If the head lease says clearly says and states that short-term rentals are allowed in this property, then go ahead. Rent-to-rents are fine. But not all properties do. Now, if you approach a landlord and you sign a rent-to-rent company-led agreement, but then you fail to double-check the head lease, you can get burned for that. Yeah. So a lot of people don't know about this. So you need to know the rules and regulations behind it. That's probably the most important thing, which a lot of people miss. In my experience.
And then also there may be restrictions on landlords' mortgages. So you need to get the landlord to check their mortgage.
Exactly.
And these can, when you get into these things, it's quite a lot of work to do all that due diligence. And it's not because you're relying on a third party. You're relying on the landlord to go and check something, and they may not do that.
Exactly.
Those are the challenges.
Yeah. So do not. My advice to anyone coming onto the property market and wanting to, let's say, start rent to rents is make sure you get everything in writing. Don't just take the agent or landlord's word for, oh yeah, my head list is fine. Oh yeah, my mortgage allows it. It's not a problem. You need to, okay, fine. Give me a copy of it, please. Like there's no reason for a legitimate landlord or a legitimate agency who does their job properly to give you that piece of evidence in writing. And if they refuse to do so, or you don't, or they for some reason try and come up with a story they don't, you walk away, because that's a bit weird. It's a red flag for me.
And because you're not going to find out until you put it on the market, and by then you're going to have already spent money on furniture, possibly redecorating, possibly more of a refurb.
So there are many cases of property investors who just learned about this on YouTube and think they know everything now, and then they go ahead and do it, forget to check all these things because they didn't have the knowledge or training behind it, and later they get contacted by the council and be like, oh, you're not allowed to do this. And some of them go bankrupt, some of them, if not bankrupt, just lose a lot of money, and then they think, and that unfortunately gives rent to rents a bad name for a lot of people, and which then makes it.
The trouble is though as well, because I'm having some problems with the council on one of mine, and the thing is the rules and laws are not the same thing, and sometimes it's difficult to know whether rules apply, because councils have every sort of local authority will have a plan, a development plan, and it may say in the development plan that they want to have fewer service accommodation properties in favour of family homes, right? So, okay, so does that mean you can't do a service accommodation? Well, only if you're taking away a family home. And then what is the definition of a family home? Is a 1-bedroom house a family home? Well, probably not. What about a 2-bedroom house? Possibly. But what if the bedroom is very, very small? You know, all these things need to sort of be factored in before you really know. And what I've learned is that, the council will come and say, you can't do it. But you can until you get a letter, because all these rules are open to interpretation. And at the end of the day, a judge the only thing that's legally binding is a letter from. Don't take my word for this. This is just what I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and this is my current thinking. Or not my current. I have spoken to experts. I've spoken to a planning consultant, and so this is what I currently believe. But that goes, that just goes to show it's difficult because the rules are not clearly defined. And
so it's interesting that some councils are trying to hammer down these short-term lets, because if you think about it, the UK actually relies a lot on the tourism industry. So where do tourists stay? If not hotels, they look for Airbnbs. Like Airbnb and Booking.com are probably two of the biggest travel online travel agencies in the world. I mean, when I travel, I look on Airbnb and Booking.com straight away. That's what most.
Well, a lot of hotels appear
alongside hotels, etc. And I want the best rates for the location that I want. So more choice actually encourages tourism and encourages people to come in, spend money in the country.
And for some people, a hotel is just not appropriate. If you're a family, even if you just got one kid, a couple with one kid, not great, because you want to have like a kitchen and be able to
absolutely.
do these. I mean, you might have a cot for the baby or whatever in a hotel room, but that's still not the same. But if you're a family of 5, you've got 3 kids, then a hotel's really awkward, because
you're going to be in like 3 different rooms.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't really put a baby on her own in one room, or even a young child. And sometimes they have 2 rooms that have a door in between, so you can go in between. That can help. But even then, you're not going to have a kitchen.
No.
So yeah, I think the service accommodation.
And I think service accommodation actually solves a lot of housing issues for a lot of people. A great example is, for example, contractors. Contractors, there's lots of in the UK there just aren't enough houses, like period. And the UK government has recognized that and are pushing to build more homes in the UK. Now, who is gonna build? Which group of people build houses? Contractors, builders, electricians, plumbers, whatever. They all come and work together to build, massive and manage massive development sites. And they don't all.
No,
they need to come.
They need far more workers than there are.
Exactly. Yeah.
They need to come in and stay.
Yeah. And a lot of them, like a typical development project might take months. For instance, that will be maybe probably in the order of years, really. And they have to then come to the site for weeks or months at a time, away from their homes, wherever they may be traveling from, away from their family, and they have to stay and do all the work. Now, imagine being stuck in a single hotel room for 4 months, even if it's like a nice-ish one. Like, I mean, I don't know, I would get very depressed. But if you and let's say 3 other contractor mates,
it's nice for a couple of nights. But anything more than a week.
Yeah, anything more than a week just gets a little bit, I want to cook my own food. I want to just have my own sort of relaxing space and stuff.
But you want to sit on a sofa.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hotel rooms just don't normally have.
In fact, my service accommodation, which I've got in Southeast London, it's a 4-bedroom house. I've got contractors in there right now. Group of 4 contractors. They're just working on some development site nearby, and they love it because they're all mates, colleagues. They all share one massive house where they can relax in the reception room. We even have a pool table in the garage where they can play some games, relax. We have a massive nice kitchen. They can cook their own meals, socialize, and actually have a proper life. It's good for their mental health as well, because they can socialize, etc., and live normally for the 2 months that they're staying at my place to work on the development side.
Yeah, I've got a similar thing in one of mine near, sort of between Bristol and Bath. I've got a guy in at the moment. He says it's like the best Airbnb he's stayed in, and he's working on some sort of water main problem. And so, these people are providing valuable service to, we need water. We need people to maintain the water system. We need people to be building houses. Another guy I had in was fixing or replacing the floor in the local leisure centre. These are things that need to be done. And something like that's quite specialist. There's not going to be someone local who knows how to lay a floor in a leisure sports hall.
Exactly.
So, they need to get people in longer distance. So
service accommodation, I think, solves a lot of problems.
If there's demand for it, it shows that there's value, that it's valuable service.
Exactly, absolutely. And it should be encouraged, not hammered down on.
And I feel like when you read in the news about councils shutting down service accommodation, they seem to celebrate that far more than they do giving planning permission for 3 more family homes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something they should be...
No, exactly. Yeah, like there's so many projects from my colleagues who, they apply for planning permission to, let's say, extend their property like into the loft or something to create extra living space. That's space for another one or two people. But then the council says, "Oh no, this is not right. It won't look good on the street," and then they reject it. And so it's very ironic. They are trying to shut down service accommodation by arguing that, you're taking away normal homes for regular people, but then they refuse planning permission to build more for those regular people that they want to house. Yeah. So double standards, really?
And there's so many derelict homes as well.
Exactly.
I was watching podcast that Russell did.
The Property Investors podcast.
Yeah. And he was talking about how there's apparently 750,000 derelict homes. And I just thought, if they just did something like say, okay, look, if you buy a house that's derelict in order to bring it back into a family as a home, to create a home, then you don't pay stamp duty, and you won't pay council tax for 6 months while you're doing the refurb. If they just did that, they would all be. You would have no direct homes within 18 months.
And absolutely. And if the government supported that, the council supported that, and
they'd be making more revenue as well in the long run.
Exactly.
There'd be people moving in and they'd be paying council.
Yeah. So you have all these extra houses to house more people. We will also have more service accommodation, which encourages even more people to come into the UK, spend money on tourism, whatever. Like everybody wins.
Yeah. It's by clamping down, by all the red tape, all the NIMBYism.
Absolutely.
It's just strangling the country.
Exactly. But here we are. we need to learn that. That's why education is really important. You need to know what works, what doesn't work, and you have to do it legally.
Yes. And things are constantly changing as well.
So that's
why the training and the network and learning from other people's experiences is really important.
Yeah.
So they're talking about bringing in more controls on service accommodation, which, in some ways more controls is not a good thing, but in other ways actually because the situation at the moment is a mess, because service accommodation in some sense doesn't exist, in terms of legally. So it's very difficult to sort of make a law about it. So they think you bring in the C5 classification. Have you looked into any of that? Are you?
Well, I don't know specifically about what classification they are going to bring in or not now. I've heard about the sub-classification, which will allow service accommodation. But overall, I think more regulation is actually a good thing. I know a lot of people will say, well, why would you say that? Like right now, service accommodation is basically unregulated. So people are doing all sorts of different things. But by allowing it to be unregulated, it also allows a lot of people to do it badly and do it wrong, and it gives all the legitimate ones who do it well a bad reputation. So by bringing in regulation, it then gives clarity for everyone. This is the set of rules you have to follow to operate your service accommodation business. Okay, now it's very clear cut on what we need to do. This is the classification. This is the classification, or whatever it is, the details. You do it that way, and anybody that doesn't do it that way, well, they are the wrong. everybody else is still right.
Yeah.
So I
At the
think
moment, we're throwing out the baby with the bathwater in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing that.
Yeah.
Some local authorities are doing that.
Exactly. It's like the HMOs. A couple of years ago, I don't know the exact timeline, HMOs were unregulated, but now it's much more regulated. You need to have proper fire doors, for instance. You need to have fire escape routes, for instance. You need to have this, that, and other. There's lots of regulation around HMOs. There's Article 4 that's coming in various parts of the country as well. So did that shut down the HMO business? Absolutely not. If anything, it gave a lot of people clarity on how to run an HMO business successfully. And because there are regulations available now, the council can't tell you, oh, no, you can't do this. Well, here are the regulations. Thank you very much.
I think that's the worst thing for entrepreneurs and business people is uncertainty in rules. So, if the regulations bring certainty, bring clarity, as you say, without being too prohibitive, then yes, it's definitely a good thing. And I hope they do it. I suppose as long as they do it right. And that's also never guaranteed.
I mean, I think whatever happens, as entrepreneurs, we just need to be flexible and adaptable. Like regardless of what happens, if they bring in regulations A, B, and C, all right, fine. Those are the regulations. I'm not too happy about them, but it all boils down to your mindset. Can you come up with 10 reasons why it wouldn't work, which probably most people will, but the true entrepreneurs, truly successful ones, I think they can look at it and be like, okay, can I come up with 10 reasons to make it work?
10 reasons.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got a situation. The pessimist would be like, oh yeah, I'm not going to do service accommodation anymore. This doesn't work. But then a truly successful entrepreneur, I believe, would look at any situation, whatever regulation comes in, you look at it and be like, okay, what can I do to work around it and make it successful either way?
Good. So you're touching on mindset there. So, and you being a doctor, working in the NHS, most of your colleagues are not working really hard on side projects or side careers, I should say, really. What is it about your mindset that do you think that makes you different? Or is there anything?
Well, I think it's a couple of different things. Number one, I realized that being stuck in the system, the institutionalization, it will forever keep you broke. Even if you are a doctor and you are on a technically above average salary compared to the UK average, like with it never matching inflation, everybody's just going to get poor. Your money is never going to work for you if all you do is your job. And that doesn't matter if you're a doctor or anybody else. Everybody in a regular job must do something else to grow their wealth in the background. You can't just rely on a job. You are literally just...
You're selling your time.
Yeah,
and your time is your life.
Yeah, and you're literally one step away from just total poverty. Like unless you come from an incredibly loaded family or something where even if you lose your job, you're absolutely fine, which is not most people. You need to do something. You need to take life in your own responsibility and take action to change your own situation. And that brings me back to the whole mindset thing that we talked about. I think what I realized over time was there is a better way, and I have to do something else. I have a duty to myself and my family to become rich. Now, I don't want to... with rich, I don't mean being able to drive the best car and have a Rolex or things like that.
You need to become self-unemployed.
I need to become self-unemployed, exactly. Well timed. It is, being able to, for me, being rich is having the freedom of choice. Being able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, without having to...
Well, that's exactly what being self-unemployed is about. That's exactly what this podcast is about. It's not... Because rich, I think it's such a misunderstood thing, because in some ways I've been growing my wealth, quite a lot, but I've never had a lot of money. And most people don't realise the difference between wealth and money.
Yeah.
And when they say things like, oh, Elon Musk, he's worth $100 billion or whatever, people think he's got $100 billion in the bank. But that's not the case at all.
No, not at all.
And in many ways, because people just think it's all about money. Rich people have a lot of money. No, they don't. And actually, making money is not the best way to get rich.
Yeah.
Because or to be, become wealthy.
Yeah.
Because when you make money, you pay a lot of tax.
Yeah.
It's better to buy assets that are going to go up in value. And a lot of people like Gary Stevenson, he says, "Oh, the rich will just buy more assets." And so I was like, well, yeah, but the poor can do that too. It doesn't have, there are assets you can buy that are £1. You can do that once a month. You're doing something.
Yeah.
You're getting in that habit.
Yeah.
This is what I've talked in the past about, how there's being sort of 4 phases of building wealth. First is sort of getting out of bad debts. The second is sort of getting in the right habits of putting some money to work for you.
Yeah.
And there's things like pensions and ISAs and index funds and stuff like that. That are not the best. They're not going to make you super rich, but it's good. It's a good thing to do if you want to build a little bit of a pot. Because also phase 3 is like kind of what we're doing, where you want to invest. You're going to do things that are a lot more risky, where you could lose money. So you want to invest in yourself, get yourself into the right community.
Yeah.
It's not passive. It's not passive at all. Like setting up a direct debit or standing order into an index fund, to put 100 quid into an index fund every month, and then just carry on with your normal job. It's a lot more hands-on. So that's not for everyone. So phase 2, I think, has its place, definitely. And that's what there's no reason why anybody can't do that. You don't need to be rich to do phase 2.
I think, there are 3 things which most people don't have, which I didn't have previously until more recently. And that is, one is just forget about properties or anything. First thing you need to learn is just financial education. Know what money is. Money is just a tool that is used to transact for goods since the ancient times. How can you make money work for you? What does it actually work? What actually is money? What can you do to make it work for you? What is inflation? What is GDP? What is the economy about? You need to learn what money actually is. Financial literacy, which they don't teach you at school. They never taught that to me in medical school. So I had no idea how to actually manage my money right after I got out of med school. Like I was not controlling my spendings. I didn't know how to budget. I didn't know about a lot of these things which they don't teach you at school. So I think that's the very first thing. Most people, before you even start investing in anything, because if you don't know how to manage your money and your own personal finances, there's no point in you investing in property, because you're just going to crash and burn. You need to know what's coming in and what's going out and what you can change. Learn about financial literacy. That's the most important.
And everyone should do that for their own personal life. They should
exactly
have a bit of business attitude to their own finances.
Absolutely.
And once you get then that's what phase 1 is about. Like getting on top of that.
Exactly.
And once you've done that, then you can take the first step into, trying to maximize tax efficient wrappers like ISAs and pensions. And then once you get good at that, you might even build a bit of a pot. Then you can, if you're the right kind of person, you can go into phase 3. Where
I would say for most people, if you do number 1 very, very well, which is financial literacy and everything you've talked about, making money work for you, and you do nothing else, that's still gonna put you up for a much better position than most other people who don't do anything. They don't know.
Phase 2 is getting out of bad debt. Phase 1 is getting out of bad debt. But in learning about financial literacy, starting to get things working, money working for you, that's phase 2. And you can build, a decent retirement just doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, the second thing that I learned out of the 3 things that just should change my mindset regarding wealth is just being able to put down the work. I think a lot of people, they want to, I don't know why that is the case, but a lot of people just want to get rich quickly without doing any hard work. Like for no work. Passive income, I'll just throw some money at something and I'm going to get paid thousands of pounds a month. Yay. It's not quite that simple. Like whether it's, YouTube dropshipping, property, you need to actually learn about it, be willing to work incredibly hard for it and learn as you go along, which most people are not willing to do. And
they want to go home, have a beer, watch some football at the weekend.
What do most people do in the general public? They They wait for Friday and then they celebrate. I never really understood it when I was like, everybody's, oh yeah, it's Friday. Oh, what are you doing on Friday evening? Oh, going out to the pub, have a couple of pints with my colleagues. And what are you doing over the weekend? I'm going out with my friends, watch this and what. Now, I'm not saying having a life is a bad thing. Of course, you just have a life. Like, I love going to the pub too. I love going to watch, Netflix every now and then. But at some point, you need to make sacrifices. Because if you want to enjoy everything life has to offer right now, you are delaying what could be in the future. So I always tell people when they ask me, oh, like, Dr. Min Ho, like, how can I become wealthy? What would be your advice? How can I, reach to what you're doing right now? I always tell them, prioritize later.
Yes.
So don't prioritize your pleasures and everything now. Prioritize your life later. I don't mean procrastinate. Prioritize later, as in your future.
Yeah, you got to think about the future.
Yeah. And that's the biggest sort of mindset change I've had.
I think also very simple. But you could say to somebody, "How do you build wealth? How do you get rich?" Well, you say to them, "What are you doing to build wealth? You want to be rich? What are you doing to build your wealth?" And most people say, "Nothing." It's like, well, do something. And then you're far more likely.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most people just don't do anything.
Yeah.
And okay, but they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And that's partly for the system. Do you think it's a deliberate thing that they don't teach that in a...
Well, maybe. I mean, if you talk to a couple of conspiracy theorists, they say, government has designed the school system in a way to keep everyone, brainwashed and, stuck in the system.
Well, when you look at the origins of the education system, it was to fulfill the need of the Industrial Revolution. So
you are right, yeah.
And they needed people to start...
That reminds me of something, actually. During the Industrial Revolution, I can't remember who said this, but someone significant said, oh, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers.
So there's a lot of evidence to suggest that there is...
I'm not just pulling this out of thin air. Someone said this.
Yeah, we can...
That made a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, there is a lot of evidence to suggest it's not conspiracy theory, that it is.
Yeah.
That they do, want to keep us poor, keep us selling our time.
Yeah. Exactly. So the system is not designed to make individual rich. It is designed to, I think, please don't shut me down for this. It's just my opinion. I think it's designed to keep everyone, in their place, busy, keep working until you're until you're 68, and then you might get a small pension. Good luck for the rest of your life.
Yeah. But then we do need because we do need doctors, nurses, plumbers.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I actually love being a doctor.
Yeah.
I love my profession. I just don't like my job. Like it two key difference. I love helping people. Like I have I've been involved in well over like 100 knee replacements, hip replacements, major trauma surgery, saving people literally from the brink of death, treating stroke patients, reversing stroke, helping people with traumatic brain or spinal injury. Go through that. I've done lots of things. I can imagine
it must be extremely rewarding, heartbreaking sometimes as well.
And it's something that money can never actually get you. That sort of reward. I think doctors and nurses and everybody else in the MDT in a very privileged place to be able to make a real, true difference to other people's lives. That's not something money can ever buy. It doesn't matter how much money you throw at someone. Like once you've had a stroke, you can't reverse it. But my job is to try and help you, not even get there in the first place. And if you did, help you try and get out of it as much as possible. Yeah. That's physically within the limits of modern science. But I just don't like the system that makes me work and earn the way I do right now, and does not allow me to do my job in a fulfilling way.
It doesn't value you.
I don't feel very valued, to be perfectly honest, by the system.
Yeah, I mean, I had Shannon Senior on a couple of episodes ago, so check that out. She's a nurse, but she has gone into property rent similar to yourself. But she says that she, even though she's not working in that now, she is still a nurse.
Yeah.
She still identifies as a nurse.
Yeah.
That is who she is.
Yeah.
And maybe she'll go back to it one day. And it is more about the money.
Yeah. That's why
it's more than just about more than just about the money.
Yeah. That's why I haven't quit my job.
Yeah.
if I was in any other industry, I probably would have quit my job and went full-time property, because that just makes sense. But I am still within my profession. I still want to complete my training as a general practitioner because I love doing what I do. And I just don't care about the money right now, like from the salary I make from my job, because I decided I'm going to create my wealth through property. And I'll just, regardless of how the NHS treats me, I'll just finish my training so I can still get my fulfillment of being a doctor while I grow my wealth with something else. Yeah. And everybody, I think every doctor should be doing this. Doesn't have to be property. If you're too risk averse doing property, that's absolutely fine. Find something else. Find your passion. For me, my passion is property. Find what you're good at, what you're willing to invest in, what you're willing to work really hard on. And also, like, the third mindset thing that I wanted to mention just quickly is be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Push yourself outside of what makes you really nice and safe. Do something slightly crazy. Do something that makes it almost feel like this is dangerous. I'm scared. Because if you put yourself in that position, you will grow. And when I teach my medical students,
whether you win or lose, you'll
exactly
grow. Even if you fail, you'll learn.
Exactly,
you'll
you always grow. You learn by.
Yeah,
that's what I teach my medical students as well when studying medicine. You need to push yourself outside the comfort zone. Put yourself somewhere really, really difficult, because even if you fall down, that's fine. Even if you lose a bit of money, as long as it doesn't ruin you, so that's why I do it properly. It's fine. You will learn and do it better. The more failures you get, the closer you get to a win.
Okay. Well, I think it's been a great conversation.
Thank you.
An awesome guy. It's been a pleasure to get to know you a bit more today. We've met a few times before, but yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time. Thanks for sticking with us to the end of this episode of the Self-Unemployed podcast. The fact that you're still here tells me that you are serious about building wealth, finding a higher purpose for your life, and beating the system that's designed to keep you down. Now take the next step towards financial freedom by clicking the link in the description to join our newsletter if you haven't already, and take your first steps to becoming self-unemployed.